both. Oh shit. Alright guys, so today's video we're going to be doing a tire comparison. I'm always trying to find the best value tire for the money. So whatever tire I'm going to get the most laps out of per dollar spent. And that's always my goal, because grip, you know, as long as they have like a decent amount of grip, but really grip is not the main concern. We're all driving out there for fun. Today's tires, we have Kendas. It's kind of heavy. So far, they've lasted longer than anything else I've ever tried. So that's why I try to, we're going to compare until maybe we get a dethronement by the Kendas. So today's comparison, we have the contender of Lionhearts. As you can see, we got our money's worth out of these. Oh man, PBR full course. You can't not blow them up, you know? So these are pretty similar tires, right? You know, the Kendas I think are a summer tire maybe, or they might be all seasons. The Lionhearts are, I believe, all seasons. The Lionhearts are a 520 tread wear, the Kendas are 300. That doesn't mean a whole lot, because from what I understand, manufacturers can just pick their tread wear rating. There's no real like standard that they have to abide by. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. But I do use it to get an idea of kind of like what the tire's for. You know, if it's some super hard tire, if it's like 100 tread wear, you know, and it's like a semi-slick or that kind of stuff, it gets you in the ballpark. So anyway, but the aim is the same with both tires. You know, they're not going to have a ton of grip. They're going to have a decent level of grip, but the goal is to see how long they last, make them last as long as possible, so you get the most laps per dollar. So that's really what we're going to see here, is which tire gives us more laps per dollar. Because spoiler alert, you guys already know, the Kendas definitely last longer, but they are significantly more expensive. So the Kendas are, I'll put it on the screen right here because I'm probably wrong. It's either, I think it's $356 for a set of 4 shipped. That's what I paid. And then the Lionhearts are like $246 or $248 or something like that, $256. It's on the screen. Shipped. So, you know, about $100 cheaper for 4 tires, $25 cheaper a tire. So that's a pretty significant price difference. Now these are all 235, 40, 18s. They were all ran on my 350Z at the same track, the same day. Weather conditions didn't change much. Temperature didn't really change much. You know, track surface, you know, everything was pretty standard throughout the day. I drove pretty similar most of the day. So there's not a whole lot of variables. The Lionhearts are mounted on a 9.5 inch rim. The Kendas are mounted on a 10.5 inch rim. I don't know that that matters that much. We have a tire cooler in the Z, so we did spray the tires. We sprayed all of them and used the whole tank on them, you know, during the straightaways. So that was pretty much the same. So we try to keep the variables as little as possible to see which tires actually lasted longer. So a couple notes before we get into it, mounting wise, like obviously most of you aren't mounting your own tires. I mount my own tires. The Kendas definitely mount a lot better than the Lionhearts. The Lionhearts have this like stiff, cheap feel to them, where the Kendas feel like this like nice, malleable, quality rubber. It's kind of hard to explain without getting your hands on them. The Kendas definitely feel nicer. I wish I had a tread depth gauge, because I feel like the Kendas have more tread depth. They have more overall tread than the Lionhearts do. The Lionhearts almost look like used tires off the jump. So definitely kind of puts them at a disadvantage there. We did one more thing, well, 2 more things. This is not sponsored by either of these companies. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I've never even talked to a representative from any of the companies. So that, for one. For 2, we did get the alignment dialed in before the Lionhearts. We got the alignment dialed in on the Kendas. We were getting camber wear because it's mostly right-hand turns. So the inside tire was rolling over because the whole car was rolling over. And we got that dialed in by the set of Lionhearts. Both sets of them didn't have any real camber wear. They were pretty much dead even wearing. So the Lionhearts do have a bit of an advantage here. Keep that in mind. So here's what a lap looks like on the Kendas, because that's what we drove on first. So the Kendas felt really good. I like the way Kendas feel because they have kind of like a nice amount of grip, but like with not too much grip. I like kind of like as much grip as possible because I'm trying to make sure I can keep up with everybody. But on a car like the Z especially, you know, not having a tire that is consistent, controllable, and you can kind of trust that, you know, you're gonna scrub when you initiate on the handbrake, and if you're gonna, you can throttle away from stuff, you know, that much grip, but without being like difficult to drive, I guess. I mean, but yeah, they have decent grip. For cheap tires, for long-lasting tires, they have a pretty good amount of grip. So here is a lap of the Lionhearts.
Too fast.
So the Lionhearts honestly felt pretty similar. They felt like they had decent grip. They were like a little slicker, like just a little bit slicker, which was kind of nice in this situation because I was able to hang it out a little bit better and link stuff because the car wasn't wanting to grip up as much. But overall, not like a negligible difference in my opinion. It might be easier to tell if I was tandeming, but I really didn't notice much of a difference in the grip level. Interesting thing to note that I didn't realize, and I kind of thought about this after the fact, is when the Kendas blow up, this is what happens. So they pretty much just flat spot, or not flat spot, but they basically just develop a hole. Let's see if I can find the hole on this set. Here we go. So they just wear down to a hole and they pop, and when they pop, they just lose the air. You know, you get some of these cords coming off and stuff like that, but for the most part, the tire itself stays intact. You don't get a whole ton of crap flying off and them delaminating. And because of that, I always just run until they pop because there's not really any concern. But the Lionhearts, on the other hand, they completely delaminate, disintegrate. Basically, the actual tread section starts flying off in big, wide, and small corded style chunks. And they just, you know, they end up exploding like this. They just, yeah, I mean, and granted, this, you would never normally do this to a tire. I'm running these things until, like, literally until they pop, and I can stop before this happens. You hear them, you get kind of like a forewarning when the stuff starts slapping around, and you can stop, but I just keep going. So here's kind of what that looks like with the Kendas first, then we'll do the Lionhearts. So the downside to that is you end up having issues with, like, for example, my last set of tires, the tread wrapped around the CV axle, tore the CV axle boot, ripped the hydro, brake line damage, tire wrapped around the CV boot and broke the hydro line, snapped it in half, and, you know, just cost some damage. And granted, again, I could have stopped. And there is a flip side to this. The Kendas, like, they start to feel greasy, and you kind of starting to feel that lack of grip when they're about to go. Like, you can really tell that something has changed, and it's kind of a big shift. It goes from like feeling fine to like, oh, we don't have as much grip, and then they usually pop shortly after that. The Lionhearts, they kind of just slowly diminish in grip level. You know, it's like every lap they have less and less grip, and then at the end you hear stuff start flying, and then at that point you should just let off and stop drifting. But for, you know, anyway, I just like to pop tires. It's fun. There's something so satisfying about it. But that definitely is an up and a downside. You know when the Lionhearts are going to pop, and you can stop ahead of time. The Kendas, you might not know. You might not be able to tell that they're going to pop. So take that as you may. So now lap count. We're going to do lap count on each set and see, you know, what kind of laps you got out of it. So first set of Kendas.
Oh shit.
Second set of Kendas. First set of Lionhearts. Second set of Lionhearts. And after reviewing the footage, we have some kind of weird observation. The first set of Kendas, we got 5 3/4 laps. So we got like 5, I think there was like 1 or 2 turns left to end the course. I'll show it in like high speed. Second set of Kendas, we only got 4 laps even. So the first set, we did not cool down at all. I mean, besides the tire sprayer, but we didn't do any cool down laps. The second set, we had to do a cool down lap because we got stuck in traffic. We did a cool down lap and only got 4 laps out of the set. Interesting. There's probably some variance that the first, few laps I wasn't able to drive as hard as I was on like the second and third sets. So that definitely could be a possibility. The Lionhearts, set 1, 3 1/4 laps. Set 2, 3.1 laps. Really you could almost call it 3 because the corner where we started, we made it through that and then transitioned to the next corner and they popped like going into the next corner. So I mean, yeah, that would be 3.1 because we got the whole first corner. So 5.75, 4, 3.25, 3.1. So interesting conclusion here because if the Kendas standard was 4 laps, if we took it as that, because that's once I was already warmed up and I was driving harder, then there's not a huge difference here between the Lionhearts and the Kendas. I mean, wow. All right, so now we need to figure out cost per lap. Okay, so the Lionhearts were $256 for 4. Divided by 4, that's $64 a tire. The Kendas were $332 divided by 4, $83 a tire. Now, we got, on average, 4.875 laps per set of Kendas. That's adding the 2 up, dividing them by 2. So, 83 divided by 4.875 gets us $17 a lap. That sounds expensive, doesn't it? So then the Lionhearts, the Lionhearts were 3.175 laps per set, $20 a lap. So technically in this scenario the Kendas win, but I want to go with the worst Kenda and the worst Lionheart. The worst Lionheart is like a negligible amount, but the Lionhearts did have an unfair advantage with the alignment. The Kendas did have an unfair advantage with the fact that I was progressing throughout the day and driving harder and harder, especially from the first to the second set. So we're going to take the the lowest two numbers and then compare those. So if we compare the two lowest numbers, which is the 4 Kenda laps, the 3.1 Lionheart laps, divided out, we get 20.65 for the Lionhearts, 20.75 for the Kendas. So it's a pretty close race. I didn't expect it to end up that close, but we've got virtually almost the same cost per tire. Obviously, we would need more laps, more time on the same track to get like a real dialed in number, but best case, the Kendas are $17 a lap. Worst case, they're 20.75. Lionhearts are going to be about 20 bucks per lap. Driving my Z, I think, you know, obviously they probably could have done better if they were the first set of tires I used. So interesting outcome here. I want to compare like a 235 Kenda to a 265 Kenda and see if we get more life out of them and if that's worth the cost difference, because a 265 is only like $9 more than a 235. So that would be an interesting comparison. If you guys know of any like really cheap tires that last a long time, or even tires that are, you know, the same cost, maybe more than Kendas, that last like an extra long time, let me know in the comments below. I'd like to test them out and compare against Kendas, but I don't even know if I can call Kendas the reigning champ at this point. There is one thing to think about though. If you're looking at the same cost per lap, you do have to bring less of the Kendas. Or if you bring the same amount, you're going to get more laps, more physical laps out of the set of Kendas. You're just going to be paying more per set of tires. So definitely something to think about. I don't have like a million spare wheels for my car, and I don't have room to bring a million spare wheels for my car. So it is kind of nice to get more laps per set if it's going to be the same cost between the two. So all in all, interesting observation. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were. Let me know, again, what tires you run, what tires you think last a long time. I'd love to try out some other ones and battle them out. We'll see what happens. But I think for now, for me, Kendas are the reigning champ. So see if anything can take them down in another video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.